Peace. Make sure my mic on. Ooh, baby, I never do videos this early. But I've been waking up on military time, so been up super early since this car accident. So I'm like, let's be productive. And I was requested to talk on this particular subject matter. They had sent me over a video, which I'm about to play from World Star. So that's how we're gonna start off today. I'm gonna break it up and we're gonna articulate the points of, let's just go to the video. Peace, everybody. I ain't even on that. But let me check y'all comment. All right, let's play this video real quick. Present share screen. I want this World Star tab. All right. I don't want that.
It would be in the negative balance. How can
you don't have a
this is
you have given them a piece of paper yourself, just said as a check. We take that to account US dollars. You have, where would they take it to get you?
So where would they take it? They would take it out of my trust, yeah.
Out of your trust.
He's doing all right so far.
Where is this trust located?
Oh, I have a trust in me.
Okay. Let's say we all do. Accepting your premise, but let's say we all do. Where is your so if they wanted US dollars for this thing you purport to be a check, you can't tell them where to take it.
In the treasury.
Which treasury?
Treasury.
You go to the US Treasury with this thing that purports to be a check. Really?
That was pulling from the treasury. That's why they asked for my information.
Who is pulling for the treasury?
Peninsula place, Your Honor.
So Peninsula.
Look at their face. My man's in there stressing everybody, God.
Place is pulling from the US Treasury.
I got the account attached to my name with my social and my information.
So they're pulling from the US Treasury because of that?
There's been a lot of you all.
Say that again?
So because of that, they're pulling from the US Treasury?
I mean, they're charging the account. They got, so this account has my information tied into it, which is showing that it's already prepaid. So what they're trying to do is make me, Peninsula is trying to make me repay.
You've never paid anything, so they're not trying to make you repay. They're trying to make you pay.
Honor. So how did we get here if I never provide, if I provided my information to Peninsula's place?
We got here because you have never provided them anything.
Okay.
This nigga said anything. Oh my God.
Excuse me, can you record me real quick? Can you record me real quick?
Get somebody else to do it.
Oh, it's for audition.
Get somebody. There's two people there.
There's two people there.
To pay.
I
You have anything ever. You haven't done that.
He ain't paid rent in 5 months.
So in the contract pay specify what type of payment.
He on point.
I'm asking you, have you paid the US?
No, paid in credit.
But you have no credit. In order to pay in credit, if you will, you must have something that evidences of balance on that credit? Yes, you want. Why not? I'll ask you again. Show me something that evidences the credit.
That shows the credit. Birth certificate and a social security number showing my line of credit that I.
So real quick, like first, like let's look at this. Y'all see all of these documents that this man got spread around the table. As a lot of you all have known, like why didn't he submit all of this stuff on the record previous to him coming and allow his paperwork to proceed? That was the first I said this, but we're gonna continue. We almost done.
Like,
So how much is in that line of credit?
you say how much is in the line?
Sure. If you got a line of credit, it's got to have a value. So how much is in it? I didn't ask everybody. I'm asking how much is in your line of credit?
Well, for what Vanessa placed,
Oh, I'm asking you. You're saying it's a birth certificate, you have a credit. I don't believe that to be the case, but what the heck? Let's ask you, how much is then in your line of credit?
And then the judge is entertaining
Not
it.
sure.
He's playing along. He's giving him the option to
So if
articulate.
you're not sure how much is in there, and you give them this thing that evidences, as you're saying, just take this 1 month of $662.12, you don't know if that can be subtracted from that credit you supposedly have.
He just made a super valid point. If you can't even articulate the monetary value of this particular instrument, which you're talking about, this negotiable instrument, this commercial paper, this bond, the Sister Trust, then how am I supposed to know if you have me in court how to deduct this? He's missing a key component. He's missing the QSIP. He cannot identify that particular instrument and the monetary value without the QSIP number. But we're going to continue.
believing at least the for credit.
Oh, you have $1 billion worth of credit.
We all have credit.
Well, I'm not worried at this point about anybody else's credit. I'm worried about yours. You're saying you have $1 billion, but you have nothing that shows me that you have $1 billion worth of credit.
Come on, G. He's giving you the option. Take it.
Mr. Lang,
And then
plaintiff
the
is
court is
claiming that
empty.
you owe them $3,320.17.
They cleared the court for this.
Tell me every reason why I
They
should
set the
not
stage for him to perform.
give them a judgment for that amount.
That's going against Michigan Consumer Protection Act.
What
Any
particular provision are you Consumer Protection Act?
Enter into a consumer transaction in which the consumer waives or purports to waive right, benefit, or immunity provided by law, unless a waiver is clearly stated and the consumer has specified consent to it. I never gave no consent.
What have they asked you to waive?
The way I can get waived, my rights.
To what?
Consumer.
As a consumer of what?
You said consumer of what?
Yeah.
Of this.
Man, I gotta get
What?
stuff for y'all going.
Interest.
What interest?
I have an interest in this called contract.
Oh, you do. You also have certain obligations under that contract.
So I have obligations.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Like payment.
Okay.
You don't have a security deposit.
Your security deposit is zero. You did not pay a security deposit when you moved in. This client does not require.
You
security.
say moving all this?
Wait. Okay. So under the law of rescission, under consumer protection laws, he technically didn't deposit any earnest money or any fiat throughout the situation. So he pretty much moved in off of his credit score. And that's important because he technically never tendered anything over underneath UCC Article 3. What is it? 306 and 30607? No, Article 3607, tender payment. Excuse me. It's early. In that particular code, it talks about how you're supposed to actually give some form of consideration. In his mind, the consideration that he gave was just his signature. But this is why you got to be tight in your argument. We almost done. Come on, let's get it.
This somewhere.
Look at all this paperwork. This
And even if you had one, the Security Deposit Act, you can't apply it.
Sorry.
So what other reason do you have
I
one?
like
All
this
this money?
judge. She cool.
And what other reason?
Yeah, you told me Landlord-Tenant Relationship Act, which you haven't pointed to a particular provision. You talked about a security deposit of which you have none, so that can't be a reason. I don't know, and you have pointed to anything under the Landlord-Tenant Relationship Act would even be in this particular case during the you cited the Michigan Consumer Action Act. There's been no benefit. They've denied you, no interest that they denied you. So that can't mean anything else as to why you don't know this.
Disclosure.
They didn't force you to sign it. You signed it.
So I'm signing. So is this a loan that I'm getting from Peninsula Place?
No, you are not getting a loan.
Is this so long? He
You
asked.
are renting an apartment
Correct.
in consideration for the use of that apartment, which belongs to Peninsula Place. You're to pay them rent. You haven't for the last 5 months. Actually, you didn't pay it before then because Sarah paid it. But
No
you haven't paid
consideration.
rent for the last 5 months.
No consideration. He could have tendered an
Yeah,
instrument
all bills
in
are
order to
prepaid.
cover a term
No,
of
they're
rent.
not. Your bill is not prepaid.
Like I said, it's in the
Because your
positive
bill is
balance.
not
If I owe
prepaid.
anything,
You just-
it will be
if you
in the
have the line of
negative.
credit, tender the instrument from the line of credit. But you need to be
I don't
in
even know what that
to
means
do that.
because your positive risk is different than anybody else I've ever come.
You said my positive.
Yes. $20.17.
Yana, when I log into my portal, it shows a positive balance.
He's not
I
wrong.
can't owe something in a positive balance. It's just if I log into my app
Under
on
the
my
consumer
mobile
protection
device,
laws,
to
he's
look at my bank
completely right.
account, it's in a positive
That's the
balance.
billing
Your
error.
bank account.
That's
Yes,
improper
this is a
reporting.
positive balance. If I owe anything, it will be.
So you have the money. So you have $3,320.17.
Citing the codes
Giving
that
an
go
example.
along with what it is he's
What's
articulating.
giving an example?
If I owe anything, it'll be in the negative.
I don't know what that means. Is there anything else you want to say to the court?
Since I have federal questions, until I appeal. Higher court.
Yeah. As soon as I enter my judgment, you'll be able to appeal all you want. If you can perfect it. So
If you can
the court's
perfect
having-
it. Oh, what did he say? If you can perfect it. Oh.
the testimony in this case, the court would find that plaintiff has sustained their burden of showing that the defendant owes $3,320.17 in outstanding rent and charge account. And the court would judgment to the plaintiff in that amount plus its cost that would constitute then the redemption amount on this premise. Just the defendant would have 10 days to pay that, which means he would have to pay that by 24th, or a writ of petition or order of petition made. I will sign a judgment.
Should I allow payment?
So you present this judgment.
Whew. All right. So, several things could be said about that particular situation. So let's just go from beginning to end. the topic of this is status correction, of course. So understanding what status correction is, it is making sure that your reflection or the way that you are represented in the public eye, it is reflected in a certain capacity. So me personally, when my documents within the federal court, my stuff been on record for a while. I have Superior Court filings, I have UCC filings, and I have communicated with different states because of my businesses. And throughout all of my interactions, I make sure that my status is known, what my national status is, and also what my social political status is. For me personally, whenever I'm articulating myself, I'm coming in a beneficiary position. So it'll be my full title, beneficiary with my family name. Then I also identify my nationality, which is the tribe I come from, which is Lenape. You know, my people from Lenape Hokan. So it's always identified me being the beneficiary of this particular tribe. And so my family has a constitutional agreement, and we have a treaty in place. And as an heir of that particular treaty, I inherit those rights. So all of this is on record. So whenever I'm coming in contact with any of these public officials, I submit them certain information. You're supposed to. So if I already got it recorded in the courts, all I have to do is get a copy of what I got recorded in the courts, and then I send it in to this other court before I go in. Then they have to review all of my documentation. So where homie fell short, where he took this big, and it is really disheartening. Like, I applaud, like, he get an A for effort for sure. And like, I remember when I was young and I was in those situations, but I was also like in my early 20s. And you can't knock nobody for putting themselves in these situations so that they can, learn. Because like, he for sure was accurate in a lot of points. I'm not gonna sit up here and try to shame this brother like how a lot of people would. He just didn't have all of the knowledge in place, and he didn't come in a sovereign citizen aspect. He was like, I understand certain information. I have a birth certificate in place. I have a social security number underneath the Truth in Lending Act. It says the social security number is an account. So knowing that I have an account, and once I give this account information based on some information I've researched, I know that they're pulling from this account. So if we look to it like based on the information, so like the way we do our mortgage affidavit is we expose the fraud. Shout out to my team. I'm gonna say everybody's name. Y'all know who I be with. But we have pieced together this document, and we expose how the fraud happens within these particular contracts. So with your initial note, so the promissory note, your promise to pay, this is when you're in a mortgage. He was in a rent situation. And then I'm gonna tell you how you can, be in those situations and extend the line of credit so that you can cover a certain amount of your rent for a certain period of time. But when we're talking about the mortgage situation, you take the promissory note, which is the promise to pay, and then you deposit this with the financial institution or the title company because you're going through your negotiations for the mortgage, right? They didn't take this note and then they turn it into checkbook money. And then they do a conversion of currency, which is illegal because you never authorized them to convert your currency into any other currency. And then they turn around and offer you a loan when there's federal laws that say that banks cannot extend their credit. So if a bank can't give you credit, how are they offering you a loan? Who credit are they giving you? And I'm not to say that's just, let's leave it out there. If they can't give you their credit, who credit can they give you? They can't just give you the United States credit. Based on your signature, you are extending your own credit. Then they turn around and present a fraudulent contract with interest on it, and then they make you start paying on it. So if you can articulate this in documentation, you can then expose the fraud. But underneath the law of rescission, you have the right to get back any earnest money, any deposits that you put down. So if he did put down a deposit, he would have been in a better situation because that could have been allocated over towards his actual payments. He actually tendered something. So what in his situation, what he should have did was he should have sent over a negotiable instrument or made a promise to pay an actual note that could have been deposited on his behalf in order to cover it, or even just a money order for a certain amount of consideration for a special deposit in order to cover full satisfaction. This is all stuff that I'm about to start going over some of this stuff this Sunday in the mastermind because we're actually about to start our status correction classes. We just finished up the first section of the mastermind. But I'm gonna say peace, bro. Peace. What's up, Shane? Peace, peace, peace. My bad, I wasn't peeping the screen. I'm about to say, Bro, I got my number, my work number in the description, the 248-325-8702. Matter of fact, let me run it across the bottom of the screen. And shout out to my brother Bahati, the co-author of Equity versus Commerce. Make sure y'all grab that book. It is a great book. It comes with templates. And come to find out, one of the trust documents that I have in there, people are charging like $1,000 or have charged $1,000 for that one particular document, and that is included in the ebook with a Q warrant told. It has descriptions for how to do special deposits. So you know me, I make sure that I give more value. I always get cussed out by my team because I be underpricing shit all the time. But I'm dealing with my people, and like I said, if y'all ever need something, just hit me and we can build. So for sure, link me, fam. Boom, boom, boom. But back to the payment. So like I said, special deposits, tendering over negotiable instruments in order to cover your particular situation. Now, one of the main points where homie fell short was he did not know how to identify the monetary value of that negotiable instrument. I was able to, and it's so simple. All you have to do is find a broker. I've been using the same broker for years. If y'all need, like, I know a lot of people actually use this broker, but I was probably one of the first people to use homie. But he got great prices on his QSIPs, and then it's like other people within the networks who have access in order to get you your QSIP numbers. But also based on new information from what I found, the district attorney also has the ability in order to get your QSIP numbers for you. You just have to be able to articulate it because the district attorney handles financials affairs. So, you know, it's peace, peace, peace. What's going on? I know I'm up here early with y'all. I appreciate all y'all tapping in, fam. What's good? I'm about to say, fam, I'm up. I'm just link me. You can text me right now, bro. This all I do. I work. But yeah, I remember, and I flashed my QSIP number for my negotiable instrument at the time before it had hit full maturity. It was around like 2.9 billion. So he's like, we have $1 billion in credit, but you got to be able to show that. And then your documentation should have preceded you before you came into the court. That way the judge could have reviewed everything, and then you wouldn't even have been in there on World Star getting embarrassed like this, bro, because they don't like this stuff getting out. That's the main reason why it was only how many people was in the court? Him, the attorney, the landlord, the sheriff, and the judge. It was 5, possibly another 6 people in there, probably the stenographer, the one who's putting it on the record. So they cleared out that room because these are private affairs. And you have to learn how to conduct yourself in a private capacity, especially if you're going to want to live this life. It's no cutting corners. It's study and show thyself approved. And I applaud everybody who want to jump out here and just try shit, because like a lot of us wouldn't have gotten to this point without so many people willing to try things so that we can learn what works and what doesn't work. So this is actually a collective effort of over almost 30, close to 40 years of people working, trying to figure this stuff out, just because it's in the private sector. And even people who have came across certain bits of information, like being able to pull down money from the banks, like being able to deposit negotiable instruments, giving you certain balance amounts, and then you can run it through your trust account, being able to pull down payments throughout your trust through the sister Q. So pretty much doing treasury transfers into your trust account, and then pulling down through it through tax documentation. It's so many different ways in order to make it work. Some people like the 1099 or wait route. That shit is legit. You just have to understand bookkeeping and accounting, because if you are the lender, if you truly are the lender and the credit did come from you, you are supposed to be doing the 1099s. The lender is supposed to do the 1099s. But then some of you have the borrowers putting themselves in the lender position. So then you have to turn around and do correct accounting on your documentation. So that means you have to do the A's. If there is any brokering or bartering, you can do the B, and then you the C for the counseling out. So when you do this, then the IRS, they will manage your books and they will see where your tax liability is. If it's in the positive, they're going to send you out a check. And if you are someone who's tax exempt, if you don't hold any tax liability, any form of accounting of any credits that you've accumulated over time, it's supposed to come back to you. I'm not making none of this up. This is basic tax laws. This is tax accounting. And then even doing me and Manny, we was on the phone last night and we was looking at some of the documentation on the IRS site and just going through all of the documents that they have that they can mail out to you, and just being resourceful and being knowledgeable about what it is to operate in the private sector, being a creditor, being a surety, learning how to operate on behalf of your principal, because that's what it is when you have a UCC1 and you have that security agreement, that agreement that a lot of you have on file. I'm making sure that you understand what it is. That agreement, you're saying that you agree to work on behalf of the principal, which is the straw. So a workman is worthy of his hire. Based on your work, you're entitled to payment, but you're also supposed to manage and move on the behalf of the principal and what's most beneficial for it. And that's also in one's conjunction of the United States government, because you're not here to disrupt commerce. You're here to do proper accounting. You're here to do commerce when you're operating in that capacity. So that's why the equity versus commerce book is so important, because you have to learn how to protect yourself, your living soul, your family, and your estate. That's equitable. That's just in fairness. And then there's commerce. Commerce not always fair. The laws or the statutes and codes that have been put in place are not always fair, because based on certain laws that are put in place, there have been some unjust things done to people. But that's the reason why equity has been in place for so long. But yo, peace. What's going on, family? So I just want to make sure that we understand these components. So if what a status correction looks like for me back in the day, it was just, putting it on the record on state level through a UCC. And, if it's in one state, it's in all states, because all the Secretary of States joined back in like 2009. So then I'm like, that's state level, cool. But then I'm like, there's multiple levels of jurisdiction. And then I'm like, ignorance of the law is no excuse. I'm just going through the way my mind was processing status correction in my early 20s. So I'm like, once they joined all the Secretary of States, I'm like, I'm good. And then I started learning, like there's county filings, there's land records, you want to put yourself back on the land versus maritime. And then there's federal land records. And then there's international documents, because there's multi-level jurisdictions. There's the outside of the United States jurisdiction, what they consider to be, foreign, but still on the land. There's state, there's city, there's county, and there's federal, and then there's international. And then there's also tribal. So the way that my stuff is, first thing first, I made sure that my genealogy was in order. I don't care what nobody tell you. You can't correct your status if you don't know who you are. And I understand how painful that process may be and how hard it is for some of you all. But if you're doing this type of information, it's more than likely up for you to take that up within your family, because how else are you supposed to be able to protect yourself constitutionally, internationally, if you can identify your own ancestors? Honor thy mother and thy father, correct? It is up to you for you to figure out who your great grandparents are. Who's your grandma? We always say that in the hood, like, where you come from? Who's your grandma? What street she live on? We want to know. This is how we identify everybody. And then if you look at some of the older movies, some of the westerns and stuff, they always knew who Sally Mae, Auntie, and Jesse was. And I was like, I know you my cousin, you my 6-second cousin, whatever. But we always understood to an extent of who we were and where we came from, because we were always able to identify, and we lost that at one point in time. And this is the reason why we have an identity crisis. So how are you to correct your status if you don't know where you came from? And when I say genealogy, I don't mean DNA tests. I mean who slept with who with death records and birth records in order for you, your beautiful mind and face, to come about. Who did that? I know my dad and my mom. I know both of their parents. I know all 4 of my grandparents. I know all of their parents back multiple generations. And then I was able to attach myself into all of my proper Indian tribes, go kick it with my family, meet more people in multiple areas that I'm related to. And then we have all of this documented. My family came to an agreement. We signed a family constitution, like how I teach in the mastermind class. We have a family creed. Everybody agrees to these things. And then it says the treaty that we are all a party of, which is the Delaware Fort Pitt Treaty. My grandfather and my uncle signed that treaty. So this is documented within the federal courts. So I'm constitutionally protected underneath the Supremacy Clause, Article 6, Clause 2. So I have my stuff on the federal courts. I also have my DBA. I have claims on my particular entity saying that I control it. I have documentation in the federal court talking about my tax liability because it's non-existent, and I make sure that my name is reflected in the proper capacity and it is expressed that I'm a beneficiary. They also have my estate EIN number, which is on file with the IRS in order to show that I'm operating in a trust in an estate capacity. So that is all. I have things in the probate. So I have a less than 100 pages of documentation laying out my family documents and my personal documents, and all of my identification reflects what my documentation says. So as I move in this capacity, it is understood that I carry this particular status. So nobody can dispute that, because if it was an issue, you should have never let it allowed to get recorded in the federal courts. So through this, I have the ability to dispute any cases. I can discharge any fines, fees, or anything. And I also have the ability to get checks if there's ever a trespass against me, because I have a particular fee schedule on file. You need to do all these steps before you start going into court and trying to articulate certain things on behalf of the entity that you haven't even expressed that you have the beneficial interest in, which we're talking about the name that you all walk around with on your IDs, your all capital entity. This is basic contract law. This isn't no sovereign citizen shit. This is business contract law. And it is very understood throughout the system, even to the point where some of my peers who have doctorates in law be like, I want my status corrected. Motherfuckers who have Grammy award winning people reach out like, I need my status corrected, because they understand what it means when you can articulate it like this. It's like, no, I'm not trying to. It's not about monetary aspects when you understand that the United States within itself has agreed to carry the weight of all debts. And then every state has a treasurer who manages all of these things. In most cases, the person who handles the financial responsibility is the district attorney. Go look up what a DA does. But hopefully y'all learned something. Tap in for the mastermind. If y'all need any help, shoot me a message. I'm gonna be doing consults today. I'm about to go tap in with my little man. I hear him knocking on my door. Peace and love. Let's run this one real quick on the way out.
Nigga, go get that bag!